The 10 Most Wicked Women in the Bible. Biblical history is full of intriguing and complex characters, and women are no exception. In this unique tour, we will explore the dark side of some prominent women in the Holy Scriptures, those whose actions and decisions have made them unforgettable figures. Get ready to embark on a journey full of mystery and revelation as we unravel the stories of these women and discover how their wickedness has left a mark on history and faith. Number 10. Salome. Salome is a biblical character known for her role in the story of the beheading of John the Baptist. Although the Bible does not provide many details about her, she is described as an evil and manipulative woman. According to the biblical account, Salome was the daughter of Herodias and her first husband, Philip. Herodias married Philip's brother Herod Antipas, and Salome became his stepdaughter. During a party organized by Herod, Salome performed a dance that delighted the king, who promised to grant her any wish. Influenced by her mother, Salome asked for the head of John the Baptist on a platter. John the Baptist had publicly criticized Herodias' marriage to Herod Antipas, angering the couple. Herodias seized the opportunity to please his daughter and ensured that Salome's wish came true. Herod, though disturbed by the request, agreed to Salome's request and ordered the beheading of John the Baptist. Salome has gone down in history as a symbol of evil and manipulation. Her involvement in the death of John the Baptist reflects her lack of scruples and her willingness to get what she wanted, regardless of the consequences for her. Number 9. Yael. Yael is a biblical figure known for his role in the story of the defeat of Sisera, a Canaanite commander in the book of Judges. His story is told in Judges chapter 4 and 5. Yael was a woman from the Kenite tribe and was married to Eber. During that time, Israel was under the rule of Jabin, king of Canaan, and his commander Sisera. God had called Barak to lead the Israelites in battle against Sisera. In the course of the battle, Sisera fled and sought refuge in Yael's tent. She received him kindly and covered him with a blanket. Taking advantage of the fact that Sisera was tired and confident, Yael took a stake in a hammer and plunged it into his head, killing him. Yael's act was considered a courageous and strategic act, since Sisera was an enemy of Israel. Her death led to the total defeat of the Canaanites and was celebrated in the Song of Deborah in Judges chapter 5. While some consider Yael an evil woman because of her violent action, others see her as a courageous and heroic figure who played an important role in freeing Israel from Canaanite oppression. Number 8. Lot's daughters. Lot's daughters are two biblical characters mentioned in the Old Testament. Lot was Abraham's nephew and lived in the city of Sodom, which was full of evil according to the biblical narrative. When God decided to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah because of his wickedness, Lot and his family were warned to flee and not look back. As they fled, Lot's wife disobeyed the divine warning and turned to face the burning city, turning into a pillar of salt. Lot and his two daughters continued their flight and took refuge in a cave in the mountains. However, Lot's daughters, fearing that there were no more men on earth with whom they could have children, conspired and made his father drunk to have relations with him while he was unconscious. As a result of these incestuous encounters, Lot's daughters became pregnant and gave birth to two sons, Moab and Ben-Ami, who became the ancestors of the nations of Moab and Ammon, respectively. It is considered an example of the wickedness and despair that can arise in extreme situations, as well as an illustration of the consequences of sin and disobedience in the biblical narrative. Number 7. Athalia. Athalia is an evil figure mentioned in the Bible, specifically in the Old Testament. She was the daughter of Ahab and Jezebel, two of Israel's most infamous rulers. Unlike her parents, Athalia ruled in the kingdom of Judah. Her reign was characterized by her wickedness and cruelty. After the death of her son, King Ahaziah, Athalia seized the throne and began to exercise power over her in an oppressive manner. She was an idol worshiper and promoted the worship of false gods instead of following the teachings of the Jewish faith. During her reign, she destroyed the altars and temples dedicated to Yahweh, the God of Israel. Athalia was also ruthless towards her own family. She ordered the assassination of all of her direct descendants, with the intention of securing her power and removing any potential threat to the throne. However, one of her grandsons, Joash, was rescued and hidden in the temple. When Joash grew up, he led a successful rebellion against Athalia and eventually dethroned her. Athalia's story is an example of the evil and corruption that can arise when a person strays from the truth and indulges in her own selfish ambitions. Number 6. Lot's wife. Lot's wife is a biblical character mentioned in the book of Genesis. Although her name is not specifically mentioned, she is referred to as Lot's wife and is described as a wicked woman due to her actions and her disobedience. The story of Lot's wife takes place in the context of the destruction of the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. God decides to destroy these cities because of their immense wickedness and corruption. However, through Abraham's intercession, God offers Lot, Abraham's nephew, the chance to escape impending destruction. Lot and his family are warned by two angels sent by God to leave the city without looking back or stopping in their escape. As they flee, Lot's wife disobeys this instruction and, moved by curiosity or attachment to her old life, she turns to see the city in flames. As a consequence of her disobedience, she turns into a pillar of salt. Lot's wife symbolizes the importance of obedience to divine instructions and the consequences of not faithfully following God's commands. Number 5. Delilah. Delilah is a biblical character known for her role in the story of Samson and Delilah. Described as an evil woman, Delilah was noted for her betrayal and manipulation of Samson, Israel's powerful judge. According to the Old Testament, Delilah was hired by the Philistine rulers to discover the secret of Samson's superhuman strength and weaken him. Taking advantage of her love affair with him, Delilah used her cunning and seduction to persuade Samson to reveal the source of her power. Delilah repeatedly insisted that Samson trust him with the secret of her strength, and each time he gave her a false answer. Finally, after continuous pressure from Delilah, Samson relented, revealing to her that her strength lay in her uncut hair. With that information, Delilah seized the opportunity and cut Samson's hair while he slept. Delilah's betrayal resulted in the loss of Samson's force and his capture by the Philistines. He was subjected to torture and was eventually blinded. However, before his death, Samson regained his superhuman strength and tore down the Philistine temple, killing everyone present, including Delilah. Number 4. Potiphar's Wife. Potiphar's wife is a character mentioned in the Old Testament of the Bible, specifically in the book of Genesis. Her story centers on an episode in which she acts maliciously and deceitfully towards Jose, a young slave who works in her home. Potiphar's wife was a powerful and seductive woman. She was attracted to Jose's appearance and charm, and she repeatedly tried to seduce him. However, Joseph was a man of integrity and rejected his advances, as he understood that he was acting against God's wishes. Frustrated and resentful of Joseph's rejection, Potiphar's wife decided to take revenge on him. One day, while they were alone in the house, She tried to seduce Jose again, and when she refused, she took his tunic as false evidence of an attempt to harass her. Potiphar's wife falsely accused Joseph to her husband, who was an important official in Egypt. Although Potiphar realized Joseph's integrity, he was forced to take action because of his wife's accusation. As a result, Jose was wrongfully imprisoned. Number 3. Mickel. Mickel was a woman mentioned in the Bible, specifically in the Old Testament. She was the daughter of King Saul and became the wife of King David. Although she is not described as evil per se, her story shows attitudes and actions that can be considered negative. Mickel was initially in love with David and was given in marriage to him by her father, Saul, in the hope that she would be a trap for him. However, as the story progresses, Mickel is shown to develop feelings of anger and contempt towards David. In one particular episode, when David brings the Ark of the Covenant back to Jerusalem, Mickel criticizes and despises him for his exuberant worship of God, which she considers inappropriate for a king. This attitude leads her to lose the possibility of having children with David. Later, when David flees Saul's wrath and takes refuge elsewhere, Mickel is given as a wife to another man by her own father. When David returns years later, he claims Mickel as his wife, but she refuses and shows hostility towards him. Number 2. Herodias. Herodias is a biblical character known for his wickedness and his influence on the events that led to the death of John the Baptist. He is mentioned in the New Testament Gospels, specifically in the accounts of Matthew and Mark. Herodias was the wife of Herod Antipas, a ruler of Galilee and Perea. However, her marriage was unconventional and unethical, as she was the ex-wife of Philip, the brother of Herod Antipas. Herodias left her lawful husband to join Herod Antipas, which caused great controversy. Herodias's malice is manifested in her role in the execution of John the Baptist. This prophet had publicly denounced the illicit marriage of Herodias and Herod Antipas, which had generated great indignation. Despite the fact that Herod appreciated John and considered him a just man, Herodias was full of resentment and wanted revenge. At a crucial moment, on Herod's birthday, Herodias's daughter, known as Salome, danced before him and his guests. Herod was impressed and, in a fit of generosity, promised Salome whatever he wanted. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Salome consulted her mother, who advised her to ask for the head of John the Baptist on a platter. Herod, despite feeling fear and regret at having to comply with this request, did not want to lose face in front of his guests and agreed. This is how Herodias managed to take revenge on John the Baptist, who was beheaded and his head was presented on a platter before Salome and his guests. Number 1. Jezebel. Jezebel is known as one of the most wicked women in the Bible. Her story is found in the Old Testament, specifically in the books of 1st and 2nd of Kings. Jezebel was the wife of King Ahab, who reigned over the kingdom of Israel in the 9th century BC. Jezebel, was a descendant of the royal family of Sidon and was known for her worship of pagan gods, especially Baal. She introduced and promoted idolatry in Israel, converting the people to religious practices prohibited in the Jewish faith. In addition, Jezebel persecuted and killed many of the prophets of Yahweh, the God of Israel. Her influence and her power over Ahab were considerable, and she used her position to persecute and silence anyone who opposed her beliefs or threatened her power. Jezebel was also known for being cunning and manipulating her to get what she wanted. A famous example is the case of Naboth, a man who owned a vineyard that Ahab wished he had. Jezebel hatched a plan to falsely accuse Naboth and have him executed so she could take possession of his vineyard. Jezebel's wickedness finally met her end when the prophet Elijah predicted her death. According to the biblical account, her Jezebel was thrown out of a window by her own eunuchs and her bodies were eaten by dogs, thus fulfilling the prophecy of her death.